Hey, everybody, welcome to Vince. Great to have you with us on a Wednesday. Holy crap, we got a special election just finished in Tennessee's 7th congressional district. It's done. It's done. The Republican wins. We'll talk about that. We got a lot to get to today. This program is brought to you by Blackout Coffee, the official coffee of all of us here at Silverlock. You can go to blackoutcoffee.com/Vince. Use the code Vince. That's VINCE. Get 20% off your first order. Yes, indeed. Blackout coffee. Love Blackout. Okay, so we do have the Tennessee race. Excellent work. Excellent work. Tennessee 7. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Love the work there. We get the Republican across the finish line. Thank you for all the effort that you put in to make sure that happened. I'm going to talk about what that all means coming up. Also, the President of the United States did one of his marathon cabinet meetings yesterday. You saw Reagan Reese on our show yesterday. Reagan Reese was there, and the president saved the best for last. So Reagan had an incredible question, and then President Trump, whoa, incredible answer, a banger answer. As he said, it's time to get all these people who hate our country out of our country. And by the way, Ilhan Omar, she's garbage. Yeah, that's right. We got the president on that. We'll be joined today by David Strom from Hot Air. David's one of my favorites. I can't wait to talk to him. And if we get a chance, which I think we will, I'd like to talk a little bit about Kash Patel's tenure at the FBI. You see some of this coverage. Miranda Devine, one of our friends over at the New York Post, covering Kash and what's going on at the FBI. And then Dan Bongino getting mad at Miranda. And I'm going to try and sort through all of it for you. It is all ahead on another mighty edition of Vince. Great to have you with us. The best audience anywhere, truly. All right, folks. Look, Beam's cyber sale is right now still live. You know that? Still live for you. And it's their best offer of the year, but it's only until the end of the week. Right now, you get up to 50% off with my code VINCESHOW. You can grab Dream for just about $1 a night. Dream is made with clean, science-backed ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, melatonin, formulated to help you fall asleep fast, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. No grogginess, no crash, just deep, restorative rest. And here's the best part. It actually tastes amazing. Amazing. I love Beam's Dream Powder. You just make a cup of this thing before you go to bed. You drink it. It's smooth, delicious, easy to make part of your nightly wind down. I've been using Dream a lot, and I can honestly say it makes me feel sharper, calmer, and more focused. So if you've been waiting for the right time to try Dream, this is it. Go to shopbeam.com/Vince Show. Use the code Vince Show and get up to 50% off during Beam's cyber sale. But here's the catch. Ready for the catch? Dream is only available at this price until it sells out. So seriously, think about it. How much do you want to pay for a truly great night of sleep? How about $1.08 per night with Beam's cyber price? Go to shopbeam.com/Vince Show right now. Oh, boy. All right. You ready? Big show ahead. Sip of blackout. Hold up. All right. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Here's the thing. We get a win. We get a win in Tennessee. Good. That's good news. Matt Van Epps wins this thing against Afton Bain, that psychopathic, infanticidal maniac, the lady who says that kids are an impediment to her power, don't have children, they'll ruin your life, and defund the police. How about this? How about you don't get a job in Congress? And so Psycho Lady loses yesterday. Based on the polling results, it looks like it's about a 9-point margin. Now, remember, there's a little bit to go through here, but let me point out some of the things we knew going into Election Day. Tennessee 7, as it's currently drawn, and it was very recently drawn this way, but Tennessee 7, as it's currently drawn, went to President Trump in 2024 by 22 points. And that means that Mark Green also had a 22-point advantage when he was reelected as the incumbent in that district in 2024, okay? So the math here is going to be very uneven as we look at these numbers. It's a presidential election year in a very red district. Everybody loves Trump, and of course he's going to have massive advantages that almost nobody else in American politics has. So a 22-point margin for him last year. And then you look at yesterday and you go, well, it's 9 points, Vince, in a special election. Yeah, it's a win, but boy, it tightened up a bit. Well, maybe so. But remember, What were the polls telling us? The Emerson survey showed it was somewhere between 2 and 4 points difference. No, that wasn't that. It was more than double that. In fact, the surveys, the polls got this thing wrong. A lot of you in the chat were saying, I think the polls are completely wrong here. I think the Republican's going to win it by a much bigger margin. And you were right. The Republican won it by a much bigger margin. Matt Van Epps beats Crazy Lady by 9 points. It's wonderful stuff. Another thing to think about here. These Democrats dumped a crap ton of money into this race. This is a special election. This is one of those random moments where you really don't have anything else going on. This is the big one happening yesterday. And Democrats are looking for momentum stories. So what do? They dump millions of dollars into a red district in an unwinnable situation for them in the hopes that they can pull off some sort of upset to grease the tracks for more money from their lunatic base. That money starts coming in, and then they can use it as a predicate to try and, take a bunch more seats in the midterms. That's what this is. It's all messaging and influence. This is what they're trying to do. So they burned a lot of cash in this race. They burned a lot of cash on a shitty candidate. They burned a lot of cash on a radical chick, Afton Bain, who, in the end, you think about this. I said yesterday, I was saying this on the radio show, tomorrow we're going to wake up, we're going to look at Tennessee, and we're going to say one of two things. Either, holy crap, Republicans have to get their act together. This is a disaster what's going on. The midterms are going to be a bloodbath if this chick just won in Tennessee 7. Or the thing we're going to say is, good, run crazy chicks like this. Run crazy Democrats all across the country. I hope Democrats keep putting up the craziest possible nominees, because it helps Republicans make the case that sanity is on the ballot, and so is insanity. So who are you going to side with, American voters? So Afton Bain on the ballot, she loses, and rightfully so. Matt Van Epps gets across the finish line. Wonderful. Is this an even way to look at every election? Can we compare all of this? This is all apples to apples. No, it's not. In fact, President Trump's former data guy, a guy called Matt Brainerd, who handled data for the presidential operation, he summarized it this way. Take a look here. The media will make a big deal about how much closer this Tennessee 7 special was than the presidential as some sort of referendum. But this is fundamentally dumb. Don't fall for it. He said, I'm probably the only person who's going to explain the reality to you, and no media outlet is going to have me on. So you'll have to read it right here. Well, I've got news for you. I'll read it. I'll read Matt Brainerd's analysis. Well, we'll have Matt's analysis here. And here's what he says. In the 2024 congressional election last year, a strong, longtime incumbent ran with zero primary, Mark Green. Yeah, that's huge. And outspent the Democrat 2.2 to 1.2 million. There was no outside money involved on either side. Green won by 22%. In the 2024 presidential election in this district, zero money was spent by either presidential campaign, and Republicans were energized in the state that they were always expected to win. All right. In the 2025 special election, the one that took place yesterday, Republicans fought a brutal and very nasty primary, and it ended up with Matt Van Epps, the veteran, as the winner, the nominee. He walked away with barely 50% of the vote in the primary. The Democrat raised a lot of money, and she had substantial outside investment and turnout in the urban parts of the district. This is evidenced by the largest swing being in the most black and Democrat county, Davidson, which Bain won by 56 points. When both the Democrat and the Republican campaigns are fully funded and they have strong outside support, the district's more competitive than when there is minimal spending there. But even with the Democrat getting full support, it's still a loss for them. So in the general election, this money is not going to go there. It's going to go to more competitive districts, and Republican money will also go elsewhere. Republicans will be better united as time heals divisions from the primary, and the typical margin of victory is going to return. Another factor here is that Democrat money does a better job turning their voters out than Republican money does turning our voters out, and that's a discussion for another day. Okay, so this is all smart analysis. I just want to dwell on some key components here. What Brainerd's pointing out is this is an unusual situation because there's nothing else going on. Democrats poured a shit ton of money into Tennessee 7 in the expectation that they could get crazy pants across the finish line. They fail astronomically. They lose big time, as expected, candidly. And that's not even going to happen next year. As we go into the midterms next year, they're not going to be trying to play for keeps in deep red districts. By the way, I hope they do. I hope they do dump a ton of money into districts like Tennessee 7. Go for it. In the midterms, you want to play that game? Go for it, idiots. That's wonderful news if you want to burn money there. But they're not going to do that. They're going to be fighting for close districts, and they're going to be dumping a lot of money into those districts. Republicans are going to have to do the same thing. That's just true. And so what lessons should we take away from yesterday? Well, a couple of them. One is it's okay to feel panicked ahead of the election. I do like the fact that the margin was big here, that Van Epps won by a meaningful margin. But at the same time, I also like that Republicans went into it yesterday worried about the stakes, worried that this might be a loss, that the Republican might not get across the finish line, that this Bain idiot might actually get the seat. I'd rather play anxious than be asleep at the switch. You want voters to think, damn it, I better show up. I gotta vote. If this election is decided by a single vote, I can't be the person who stays at home. I gotta show up. It's a good thing. So even when the polls are projecting a lie, as they were this week, that somehow this race is much closer, even when that's happening, I'm okay with that. I want people to believe that they're the underdog. I want people to believe that things are neck and neck, because we need every piece of energy imaginable to get our people out to vote. We've got to play for keeps at every single level. Democrats are. Republicans, the mandate is for you to do it. One of the things I love about this race is how much energy was placed in the days leading up to it, especially into saying you have to get motivated. You've got to get out to vote. And people did. So congratulations to Tennessee 7. On the other side of the aisle, we've got the crazy lady. The lady who hates Nashville. She hates country music. She hates children. She hates America. She was the nominee. What are the chances that happens again for a bunch of other races all across our country? The reality is it's very high. You know, on the right, we like to dwell a lot about the fights that we have with one another, about various issues, who's battling who and who's nasty to who. And I get it. That happens. And hopefully time does heal some of these divisions, especially as we head into the midterms. We've got to be together to win some big margins here to keep the Trump agenda barreling ahead. But you can't underestimate how much dire situation is going on the left right now. The left has a very animated but shrinking base of lunatics that support their party. And as the shrinking base of lunatics take over control of the entire party, well, they're making sure that their nominees are even crazier and crazier. I mean, we just went through an entire government shutdown because the most radical elements of their party dictated what Chuck Schumer would do. That's insane. And it is now the defining feature of the Democrat Party and its politics. They're at war with one another. Chuck Schumer is going down. Hakeem Jeffries is barely keeping his head above water. These guys have a very real fight on their hands. In the meantime, you will get more AOCs popping up as the Democratic nominees all across the country in these big congressional fights, whether it's in the so-called moderate districts, the deep red ones, and definitely the deep blue ones. You're going to get a lot of radicals, a lot of them. You're going to get more Graham Plattners, like the guy up in Maine, the Nazi guy, the guy with the Nazi tattoo, the Democrat. You're going to get a lot of those. And so this is candidly, it's a dangerous game, but here's what we've got. On one hand, you don't want these people getting power because more AOCs, more Jasmine Crockett's, more Ilhan Omar's, that's a disaster for the United States of America. On the other hand, these guys are electoral poison. The American voter has had opportunities to assess what is it like living under a Trump administration, then what is it like living under the mannequin, Joe Biden, the autopen presidency, with radicals running his entire operation. They chose in very big numbers in 2024 normalcy. They chose sanity. So it is incumbent upon Republicans going into these midterms to take the lessons from places like Tennessee 7, which is run solid Republican candidates, the best ones you can, who can forcefully make the case for the country. Don't run away from the Trump agenda. Embrace it fully. Actual referendums on Donald Trump, like let's say the 2024 election, result in massive victories for Republicans. And then meanwhile, you need to really emphasize the radicalism of these lefties who are becoming the nominees in all of these races across the country. To be like, these guys want to not only destroy your lives and your relationships, they want to tear down our whole country. Make sure voters know that. So going into the midterms, obvious lessons here. We got to have a lot of money. We have to have a lot of organization. We have to have a lot of get out the vote. We have to play anxious. We have to believe that this thing is close. Every voter needs to believe that their vote actually matters. And if they want this to be a referendum on Trump, good. So do I. I want Donald Trump's agenda to be front and center. His agenda to make America great to be front and center going into these midterms. And here's the good news for you about his agenda and the extent to which it'll be front and center. President Trump is not treating these midterms like any normal midterm. This is not a situation where the president is merely doing a little bit of campaigning here and there for various candidates and hoping for the best. That's not what's happening. Next year, the president, for the first time ever, is hosting an entire Republican convention for the midterms. This is unprecedented. He's treating this like a presidential election year because he wants people to treat it like his agenda is on the line, because it is. We're getting a massive convention for the midterms. The president is all in. He knows the stakes. Who else would know the stakes better than Trump? When Democrats control Congress, what do they do with their power? They impeach him. They stagger his ability to pursue his agenda. He doesn't want any of that shit. So he's going to be pursuing making sure that they can grow their numbers and their margin, and they're having that big convention next year. There's another element here. I want you to remember this because nobody's really talking about it right now, but this is a big one. You know that next year is the 250th anniversary of our country. America 250 is next year. All year long, 250 years of celebrating the founding of our country from the Declaration of Independence in 1776. We have a great opportunity to not only dwell on American patriotism, but help fill the hearts of Americans across our country with it as they reflect on how great our country is. The fundamental division between the people who love America at 250 and hate America at 250 is sort of the defining feature of the moment we live in, isn't it? On one side, you've got the people who love our country, who, for the most part, are Republicans. And then you have the people who despise our country, who think that it's ill-gotten, who think that we live on stolen land, who think that boys aren't even a real category, that girls aren't a real category, and that we should be ashamed of ourselves. Those are Democrats. And so if Republicans have any sense about them at all next year, they will embrace America 250, and they will lean in to one of the most important moments in American history. The White House is doing it. I've been talking with these. Look, I've talked with people who are involved, who are a part of the planning of what's coming next year. They say that these are going to be the biggest and most impressive events you have ever seen President Trump associated with. That's a big deal. I've seen President Trump associated with amazing moments, well produced, well executed. They like, think about the states of the union and the tears that come to your eyes, the motivational, emotional, patriotic moments that they've been able to produce all across the years through the president's political career. Next year, they have very high expectations. The belief is that they're going to produce something that you've never seen before. America 250. So we are going into a very big year for our country, definitely, in terms of remembering our past. And what does our future look like? Are we going to save our country? And these midterms are going to play a massive role. So as people are assessing the Tennessee numbers, I got to tell you, I'm encouraged. I like them. I think there are some lessons built into this. I don't like blackpilling, and I just like realism. That's all I like. I like just complete realism. And I, as always, if you can't tell by now, if you've been with me, you know, I perpetually remain optimistic about our country. But I don't have rose-colored glasses. I know that we have to fight for it. I know it. We have to fight for it. And we're going to keep doing that here. And I know President Trump is as well. Okay, we've got a lot more to get to. The president, speaking of getting the country back together, he had an amazing cabinet meeting yesterday. He says it's his final big public cabinet meeting of the year for December. We will show you that in just a moment, including what he had to say about people like Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, and anybody who would dare hurt our country. That's ahead on this edition of Vince. Hey, I've been using the Bone Charge infrared sauna blanket. Love that thing. Love that thing. And the red light face mask. My wife uses that ever since they sent them to us, and we can't recommend them enough. I first turned to the sauna blanket to help with muscle recovery, detoxification, become a total game changer in my life. Easy to use. I just wrap myself up, let the infrared heat work its magic. I've noticed a real difference in how I relax and how I rejuvenate and how I feel afterward. The red light face mask, equally impressive. I've been using it to help improve, well, my wife uses it to improve, rather, her skin's texture and reduce inflammation. She has seen fantastic results. It's like having a mini spa treatment right at home. Allison loves this thing. Right now, we got the Bone Charge holiday sale going on. It's great. You can save a massive 25%. And it's simple. You just head to bonecharge.com. Your 25% off code, it's automatically added to your order. It's perfect. Go to bonecharge.com. Everything's taken care of. The sale's going to end on the 31st of December, okay? So hurry. Don't miss this massive chance to save big on your favorite Bone Charge products going on right now. That's bonecharge.com, B-O-N charge.com. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. All right? All right. Here we go. Bad Old Kitty thanks me for the smart and measured assessment. Well, thank you, Bad Old Kitty. I appreciate it. All right, so Ilhan Omar is a piece of garbage. Ilhan Omar is a piece of garbage. We know this. We know this. But it's interesting to hear the President of the United States say this yesterday. I'll get to that in just a moment. But here's how the president, I want to start with this. Here's President Trump at the cabinet meeting yesterday talking about how we keep going from hoax to hoax to hoax. The press just keeps lurching between hoaxes. And, you know, whether it's the Jeffrey Epstein hoax claiming that Trump is somehow guilty of something, or the war crime hoax claiming that, you know, Trump is just like killing innocent fishermen on their submarines or whatever. And then to somehow Donald Trump's health is failing, that it's a big cover up, that Donald Trump is very, very ill, from the same media who didn't spend any time at all litigating the fact that Joe Biden was brain dead. Same media. Here's President Trump yesterday talking about all these hoaxes he keeps being served.
I sit here, I do four news conferences a day. I ask questions from very intelligent lunatics, you people. I give the right answers. There's never a scandal. There's never a problem. I give you answers that solve your little problems. You go back and you can't find anything, but you do stories about Biden was in wonderful health. The guy didn't do a news conference for 8 months. If I go one day, I had one day where I didn't do a news conference, there's something wrong with the president. You people are crazy. I'll let you know when there's something wrong. There will be someday. That's going to happen to all of us. But right now, I think I'm sharper than I was 25 years ago, but who the hell knows?
It's such a good clip. I love that clip so much, calling all those people psychos. I guess, yeah, you know what? At some point, yes, my health is not going to be great, and it's going to happen to all of us. That's true. That's true. That's coming. But right now, I'm feeling great. And I was just saying that somebody yesterday, we had a great daily caller. Once a year we get together. We have a big daily caller event, which is so nice. It's so nice to kind of reflect on the past year and all the great journalism of the guys at the caller. But I was talking to somebody about Trump, and I believe it was actually Reagan Reese. I saw Reagan Reese last night. We had her on the show yesterday morning, and I was saying, you know what's amazing? However old Trump is, I'm not looking at his age right now, but however old he is, the guy has this unbelievable work ethic that the rest of us can learn from. You ever like get to the point where you become like self-pitying or like, oh, I don't have time to do that. I'm so busy. Like I'll be honest. Sometimes I have that thought. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know. I can't do that. I've got this punch list. I can't deal with this thing. I can't respond to that person. Oh my, I got to do that. Trump just does it. And it seems like he complains about it. And in between doing things, he's doing other things just to like maintain relationships. He's like making phone calls to people, checking in. How you doing? How do you think I'm doing? What do you think I should do? The guy is a machine. A machine. And I don't say this as some, I'm not doing this like, like some North Korean, like Kim Jong Un gets like 18 holes in one. He never sleeps. He works forever. I'm giving you a real deal assessment. I don't even know how he does it. I don't know what drug cocktail he's on or what his biology is or how that even works. But the guy, he's just out hustling everybody. He's like, he's an older dude, but somehow he's crushing it. So there he is. He's doing his thing. And it is funny. What a weird story. It's like, oh, man, his health really seems like it's failing. The guy just did a 2.5-hour cabinet meeting on camera. He seemed as sharp as hell. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's another hoax, actually. Let me see. Speaking of Reagan Reese, this is the clip I really want to get to. So at the end of the 2.5-hour press conference, there's a lot of stuff in here. I could get to a million things, but I'll just focus on this for now. At the end of the 2.5-hour press conference, the president goes to our girl Reagan. Final question. And Reagan asks a smart question. She just says, hey, look, given all of the fraud that's been taking place in Minnesota on Tim Walz's watch, do you think that Tim Walz should resign? Should he resign? And the president decided to jump off at that point and just go on a multi-minute monologue, one of the best of his presidency, where he just absolutely rips the disgusting people, especially people in charge in places like Minnesota, who've done so much damage to our country. And he focuses especially on the fact that we've got all this Somali fraud, billions of dollars stolen by Somali quote-unquote refugees. In other words, people who the United States was very generous to, who turned around and stole billions of dollars from us. The president doesn't like this, and he doesn't hide his disgust for it. Watch President Trump, cut 5, talk about his thoughts here.
Our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. They came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
That was amazing. That was amazing. You ever feel like President Trump just like expresses exactly what's on your heart? That was amazing. The ingratitude is remarkable. It's like, and Ilhan Omar is defined by this. She's also defined by the fraudulence of like marrying her brother and importing him into the country. But she's defined by ingratitude. It's like, when has Ilhan Omar ever said anything wonderful about our country or complimentary or grateful or anything? It's like every word out of her mouth is like constantly shitting on our country. And then she turns around and then judges you. It's like the whole thing is so crazy and abusive. The president said, like, no, she's garbage. She's garbage. And far too many people who have come into the country are garbage. Total lack of gratitude. That's insane. This is a great country. And if you have the blessing of either being born here or welcomed here, you should not only express gratitude, you should work to preserve what made this country great in the first place. That's what we're doing. If you've immigrated to this country legally, if you've been granted refugee status by the generosity of our people, you should join us in our mission. You shouldn't be fighting against us, you psychos. And if you're going to fight back against us or if you're going to steal from us, then we're either going to convict you and put you in jail or we're going to kick you out of our country. And hopefully stop you from getting in the first place. Good for President Trump. I didn't watch any. I was consumed with other things. I don't have President Trump's work ethic, but I'm sure Ms. Now or whatever they call MSNBC these days was like angry at Trump last night. He's a racist. He called Ilhan Omar garbage. She is garbage. She is garbage. And honesty is wonderful, actually. Honesty is wonderful. Thank you for that. And speaking of the border problems, like the people we've been importing into the country, we do have good news. I told you that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was saying, hey, maybe it's time for like a full-blown travel ban on a lot of countries. And President Trump reposted it to Truth Social. And we get an update on that, actually. Let me see here. I want to make sure I actually pull the correct link for you. Oh, yeah. The New York Times has this yesterday. The Trump administration has blocked immigration from countries that produce nothing but chaos all over the planet. The United States has paused immigration applications from nations on a travel ban list. The pause is going to be halting green card and U.S. citizenship processing for broad swaths of people, deepening a remarkable crackdown on legal immigration pathways in recent days. And they have a big map here. Let me pull it up on your screen. Yeah, here it is. For those of you on rumble.com/Vince, you can see. It looks like everywhere. Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, Sierra Leone, Togo, Sudan, Chad, Libya, Iran, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Myanmar. It's like tons of countries. So anyway, in case you're wondering, are they serious about this? Yeah, they're serious about it. They're locking things down. They're locking things down. Although these Democrats, man, they're just chaos merchants, man. Hakeem Jeffries came out yesterday, and he said that he's a big supporter of strong border security. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Hakeem Jeffries said yesterday he's a very strong supporter of very strong border security. I'm sorry. One more time. Hakeem, I'll just let him say it. Here he is, cut 6. Hakeem Jeffries yesterday.
Is that, one, of course, we support the notion of having strong border security. No one ever disputes that. We have a broken immigration system. We need to fix it, but it should be fixed in a comprehensive and bipartisan way. But at the same period of time, we are going to stand up for law-abiding immigrant families and communities who have been under assault by Donald Trump and the so-called Secretary of Homeland Security. They're a disgrace.
Oh, my God.
We're going to stand up for dreamers. We're going to stand up for farm workers and for farmers who have been crushed by Donald Trump's extreme policies.
No.
And in this country, it shouldn't be that complicated. That we are both a nation anchored in the rule of law and a nation of immigrants, a gorgeous mosaic of people from all across the world. It's why we're the envy of the world, because that is one of the ingredients in American exceptionalism.
He's so full of shit. So Hakeem Jeffries says he supports strong border security. Hilarious. And he also says that importing millions of people is what makes America the envy of the world. No, it's not. Importing millions of people, especially people who are committing fraud and stealing from Americans, doesn't make us an envy. That makes us a laughing stock. This whole thing, Hakeem Jeffries is one of these low IQ idiots who pushes things like, immigration, diversity is our strength. No, it's not. The things that we have in common, our shared sense of purpose, law and order, respect for Western civilization, respect for our Christian values, these are the things that make us strong. Love of country. Commonality. These are the things that have us strong, not being at odds with one another, not creating a Tower of Babel, not speaking a million different languages, not trying to put people at odds against each other or pit them against each other. That's not what makes us strong. That tears us down, you psycho. We're not a developing nation. We're a developed nation. But if Hakeem Jeffries gets his way, we're going to be a destroyed nation. So how about you don't get to call the shots, dial-up Democrat? The rest of us will take it from here. Our thanks to the president, our thanks to the DHS secretary for being on top of things. In a moment, I've got David Strom with us from Hot Air. The guy's great. I can't wait to talk to David. And then we'll take a look at what's going on at the FBI. We got Jacket Gate going on about whether or not Kash Patel demanded an FBI jacket, and he ground FBI business to a halt until he got exactly the jacket that he needed. More on that in just a moment. You ever think about aging at all? Does aging ever make you think about it? I have noticed that as I'm getting older, my energy has gone down a bit. Not quite at the Trump levels these days. I've been trying to figure out ways to get my energy back. I'm excited to share something called C15 from Fatty 15 with you. It's the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Van Watson discovered the benefits of C15, all while working with the United States Navy. And based on studies, we do know that when our cells don't have enough C15, well, they age faster. Fatty 15 can help you repair and protect age-related damage to your cells and help activate pathways in the body that repair mechanisms that support your overall wellness. Fatty 15 is science-backed, award-winning, vegan. It's 100% pure C15 supplement, and refills are shipped right to your door. Things changed my life. I take it every day. I love this stuff. It's helped me immensely. I think you're going to love it too. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off of their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Vince. Use the code Vince at checkout. You're going to love it. Fatty15.com/Vince, promo code Vince. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right. Joining us now is the great David Strom. David Strom, you can find him on X at David Strom. He's an associate editor over at Hot Air. He's worked in politics and gubernatorial campaigns. He's really done it all. The guy's a genius. David, great to have you with us as always, sir. Nice to chat with you today.
The check is in the mail for that wonderful endorsement.
Yeah, well, I'm enthusiastic about David Strom. Always been a big David Strom fan. Hey, so Tennessee 7, we get the election results yesterday out of this. And, well, the polls were wrong. This was not a nail-biter. The Republican won pretty handily against that psychopath, Afton Bain. Do you think Democrats are going to keep putting psychos in as their nominees heading into the midterms?
Well, I think that you've got this big split between the political class, the consultant class who just want to win, and the Democratic Party base and a good chunk of their political class who are actually in office. And, the second group wants psychopaths. I mean, that's very clear. You look at Hakeem Jeffries, and he'll look into the camera and lie. You've got Kathy Hochul, the supposed moderate, who's embracing Zohran Mamdani. I mean, the party is lurching left, and they're stuck in that in the same way that the Labour Party in Great Britain was after Tony Blair. And it took them a decade and a half to get back in power. That's only because the conservatives absolutely betrayed their voters.
Well, this is why I think Democrats have to keep rigging their own elections. So, you think about each of the presidential elections over the past couple cycles, the Democrats have routinely rigged the election to prevent the radical person from taking the position. Now, I know that what ends up happening is the establishment figure becomes a vehicle for radicalism. That definitely is true in Joe Biden's case, obviously was true in Kamala Harris's case. But what we've witnessed over and over is they will rig the election for Hillary to keep Bernie away. They'll rig the election for Biden to keep Bernie away and to get the rest of the field out of the way. And then Kamala Harris doesn't even win a single primary vote, and they rig the election for her. Yep. This is because they're scared of the radicalism of their own base, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there was a story, I've referred to it a number of times in Axios a few months back, where you had Democratic politicians who, they all they want is power. Right. And they'll do what they need to get that power. But they were going out and meeting with their constituents and the people who endorse them. And they were saying they want blood. I mean, literally, that is what they were saying. They wanted blood in the streets in order to fight Donald Trump. And that is where the base of the Democratic Party is today. And so they have a fundamental problem, which is the people who are just there to scam the taxpayers, which is a good chunk of the Democratic Party, now are trying to navigate so that they can get just enough, sort of independent votes in order to win.
Yes.
And then they turn around and loot the government and give some of that money to the left wing.
But but fundamentally, this all explains, I think, a couple things from the establishment Democrats. One is that they're scared as hell of their base. So, like,
Yep.
Chuck Schumer will shut the government down because he's scared of the radicals. But two, these are the suckers they fundraise off of. So
Oh, yeah.
every time we see some harebrained, delusional hoax, Donald Trump's committing war crimes. Fundamentally, what that's really about is snowing their low dollar donors. They're trying to suck every last dollar out of the weak and vicious minds that form the base of their party.
Oh, I think that's exactly right. I mean, the base of the Democratic Party, it really is built on hate and division. And that's what motivates them. That's why you see the sort of divide in how Democrats talk. I mean, when Luigi Mangione was out there, the Democratic messaging was, I don't approve of violence. That's what they say to the moderates. And then they turn around and say, but, and then they start explaining why the violence was justified. They're trying to message to two different groups of people. And the news media will clip the first part for one group and clip the second part for another. And if you look at the fundraising appeals, they are all about frightening people and, declaring that the revolution has to come because, we're all garbage people and they have to fight us.
It's nuts. Okay, I was just playing clips from President Trump's marathon cabinet meeting
Yep.
yesterday. The president, for the first time in his political career, was very plain spoken yesterday. It was a refreshing change. No, I'm just kidding. He's always plain spoken, but he's angry about what's going on in Minnesota. He hates what he's witnessing in Minnesota, just like the rest of us, which is that unfortunately, huge numbers of Somali so-called refugees to the United States have been involved in a multi-billion-dollar theft scheme. And that was even the New York Times is now admitting
Yep.
was protected using a very well-established form of moral blackmail, which is like, hey, if you try and police this fraud, we'll call you a racist. So billions of dollars get stolen from the taxpayers. And I think a lot of Americans are ticked off about this. President Trump yesterday said these people are garbage. What did you think of that?
In fact, this is my next column on Hot Air. It's coming out at noon Eastern. And, I had a lot of different thoughts. One, the Democrats are being hideously hypocritical about this. I mean, Biden called Republicans garbage, and suddenly, we're supposed to be appalled when Donald Trump calls the Somali community, which is ripping and has been ripping off the taxpayers with the conscious aid of the Democratic Party. They've been doing it for years. And I
That's
mean,
such a smart. I'm sorry. I just want to dwell on how smart the point is that you just made. Biden called Americans garbage,
Yep.
law-abiding Americans. He called them garbage. President Trump called Somalis who rip off American taxpayers garbage. What a smart and obviously important comparison.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that somehow, I mean, I'm not a fan of insult politics, but this idea that it is, Donald Trump who started this is ridiculous. I mean,
Yes.
going back to the bitter clingers, deplorables, The Democrats have been doing this for many years, and Donald Trump was really the first Republican to fire back. And what he's saying is obviously true. It's not that every person of Somali descent is garbage. I don't think there's anything in the genes, but the culture absolutely is. And when Donald Trump says we should start culling the third world immigrants out of the immigrant pool, he's what he's saying is we don't need people coming from
So,
low trust, corrupt societies bringing those values here. That is
so
so obviously true.
And you know something though, up until recently, it felt unsayable in American
Yeah.
politics and perhaps even unthinkable. Like people just were like kind of moderated that thought in their own minds because they're like, well, I just believe in the potential of every human. I certainly do. But you're right about the cultural implications. Like, look, if you are importing people from a failed country, it is worth considering the culture that led to that country's failure.
Yeah.
Because so like for instance, in the New York Times piece this week, the very piece that seems to have like opened up the floodgates on talking about Tim Walz and the theft of by the Somalis in Minnesota. In that piece, they consult a Somali American expert on Somalis who says in the piece that stealing from the government is a cultural feature of the Somalis. It's in the New York Times piece. So, in
Yeah.
other words, if you're looking at Somalia and you're going, well, that's a failed state. How did it fail? There's a cultural element to this you'd have to be an idiot not to recognize. And as a result, we should be really careful before we start importing millions of people from failed countries.
Yeah, these are a lot of third world countries are cobbled together from clan-based societies. They're artificial countries, and because they're clan-based, everybody sees themselves as in competition with other clans. Ilhan Omar came here not because there was, suddenly she was oppressed. What happened was her father was part of the Marxist government that was based on one particular clan having power or a group of clans. They lost a civil war. She brought those very same values here. And a lot of the fraud money that has been funneled back to Somalia to the clans of the people who are here so that they can continue to loot both here and in Somalia. They view it very simply. You're a chump if you don't do this. The other side is doing it. You got to get in on the game.
It's really I think people are just done with the abuse and it's gone way too far. And now President Trump is trying to do something about it. So I saw DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said, "Hey, we're going to try to expand our travel bans on more countries." I just cited that they are definitely doing that. They've slowed green card applications and U.S. citizenship applications now from a whole bunch of countries. How important do you think this issue is to the country right now, David Strom?
Oh, I think it is absolutely one of the top issues. And it has less to do, it's related to the fraud, but it has less to do with that than the fact that what we're doing is creating a low trust society in America.
Yeah.
Everybody is looking at everybody else and wondering whether they're trying to get one over on them. I mean, the
Yes.
Democratic Party, goes to great lengths to make sure that they can cheat on everything. And, there's a reason why all these blue states are refusing to turn over their voter rolls, are refusing to turn over their SNAP recipients. It's because they're hiding something. And the rest of us look at that and we're right to assume that they're hiding something for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's why you've got sort of everybody's become an insult comic because really there's no way to have a rational conversation. That's devastating to a society.
Yes, and you're not, and we're definitely not dealing with rational actors on the other side of the table. So let's just be as blunt as we possibly can about what they're up to. It's been a never-ending series of disasters. It's time to fix it. We've got a great country. Let's get it back. Hey, David Strom, over at Hot Air. Thank you for all your great work. Continue to do it, and thanks for coming on as always, sir.
Always a pleasure.
David, there he is. All right, David Strom. Thank you. Thank you to David. Appreciate him. All right, let me see. I've got some other elements for you. Here's a clip, real quick on immigration enforcement. This is a fun one. There's a lefty lady by the name of Crystal Ball. That's her real name. Who just did a podcast. I think she was on with those. There are these two white lefty ladies who do a podcast together, and they're very angry all the time about Donald Trump and the people who support him. They're sort of like they're sort of like the exact opposite of Diamond and Silk in every way. Those lefty ladies. Have you noticed that? If you know what I'm referencing, they're like Diamond and Silk were, when they were together, were enthusiastic, love the country, very happy, and well adjusted. Meanwhile, these lefty ladies were like miserable, hate Trump voters, just going like absolutely ballistic all the time. It's a weird thing. Anyway, so these chicks had Crystal Ball on, and Crystal gets on, and she starts talking about that she can't believe that ICE officers, ICE agents, that there's so many non-white ICE agents. She said she thinks that Latinos who are ICE officers, or Border Patrol officers for that matter, who enforce our immigration laws are race traitors. Listen to this assessment. Cut 7. Watch this.
Something else you said you'd had it with are minorities in ICE.
I mean, that connects to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, not only do you have no moral compass, and how many times have you seen these guys? They've got their masks on, so you can't see their whole face. But what you can see, it's like a brown skin tone and a dude who looks like his last name is probably like Lopez or Hernandez or something. It's like, what is wrong with you? Not only do you not have morality, apparently you don't have self-preservation. I mean, these people hate you. They hate you. They hate your family. They hate your kids. They hate your future grandkids. They don't think you belong here. You're not a quote unquote heritage American. You're never going to belong. And you're the one implementing the violent force against your own community. I just can't wrap my head around that.
The lady who's judging people on the basis of their skin color says that these guys are the racists. What? I just make it make sense. Make it make sense. What if, bear with me, Crystal, what if people of all skin colors would like an orderly country? What if, bear with me here, what if they want law and order? What if they would like their sovereignty, please? What if they would like border security? What if they would like their communities to not be full of people who are illegally here and committing other crimes once they are here? What if they want a great country? You got a problem with that? What are they, race traitors? They're supposed to judge people on the basis of their skin color? That guy looks like me, can't enforce the law. What? Do we apply that same logic to white people? Should a white cop not enforce the law against a white criminal? Is that what you're saying? She would never say that. But that's the logical end game of that conclusion, which is like, oh yeah, white people should be able to get away with crimes if a white cop is assessing them. No, you break the law, you face the consequences. It's a very simple equation. It's too crazy. But that's what they're saying. So in case you're wondering, what's the left talking about? That's what they're talking about. That's nuts. And in terms of the non-white workforce, data's a little hard to track. But back in 2019, I saw that NPR wrote this up. They said that Latinos make up nearly 30% of immigration and customs enforcement and 50% of the Border Patrol. So it's not like, I wouldn't be surprised if these workforces for both ICE and Border Patrol are what they refer to as majority minority, and as in majority non-white. It's not like, it's like onesies and twosies of non-white people going there. They're rounding up the non-white people working on it. No, it's like it's a workforce. And all they're doing is enforcing the law. It's not based on skin color. There's all sorts of presuppositions built into that assessment, which are cuckoo. It's just like totally crazy. Anyway, that's where we are. Okay. Before we go today, I want to dwell on what's going on with Kash Patel. This is a wild topic for a bunch of reasons. One, basically everybody involved here I've liked and talked to through the years. I've been very reliant on. Miranda Devine at the New York Post, she came up with a piece this week that was based on not her own assessment. This is not Miranda alleging this, but she had a piece based on anonymous FBI officials. Anonymous. Like, so FBI people, allegedly, they are both current and former FBI people making assessments about the current leadership at the FBI, which, of course, would include Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. But about Kash in particular, they claim, and Miranda reported what they claimed, that Kash, when he was arriving in Utah in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, was a complete diva, that he had gone full Kamala Harris and decided to be obsessed with what his outfit looked like and whether or not he was wearing, an FBI jacket and what kind of patch was on it. And here's the Daily Mail did a summary of some of this. Here's the headline on the Daily Mail piece earlier this week. Kash Patel humiliated as explosive 115-page dossier reveals what FBI agents really think, and his tantrum after being issued a women's raid jacket. The Daily Mail piece goes on to cite that it's a 115-page report about the FBI. It's a bombshell. It's an alliance of active duty and retired agents, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But again, anonymous claims being made about Kash Patel. Now, let me just say something right out the gate. I'm not going to pretend I'm like some, deep friends with Kash, but I've gotten to know Kash a little bit through the years. I've met him a bunch of times. The guy seems like a bro. The last thing in the world that I can imagine this guy being is some sort of like over-the-top diva, Kamala Harris type. I'm not seeing it. I've never detected that at all. Maybe my senses are off, but they're usually not. I in terms of just assessing people, I doubt this is the Kash character. Okay, that's one. Two, who jumped on this immediately, who thought this was like a really important story, is Eric Fang Swalwell. Eric Swalwell dives into this, and he's like he believes it. He's hook, line, and sinker. He believes these anonymous claims. And here's what Eric Swalwell said. He goes, "I don't mind that FBI Director Kash Patel had to wear a women's size medium jacket to cosplay as somebody in charge. I just wish he'd focus on stopping the rampant domestic terrorism happening on his watch." The rampant domestic terrorism? What are you talking about, Swalwell? Dude, the domestic terrorism is happening because your party has imported domestic terrorists into the United States of America. Joe Biden signed off on an Afghan terrorist who just came into our country and killed a member of the National Guard and grievously wounded another last week. Spare us your lectures about domestic terrorism. The FBI is cleaning up the mess that your party created, Swalwell. But he's attacking Kash Patel. And so the underlying story is that Kash refused to get off the plane when he arrived in Utah until somebody gave him a jacket, and he wanted a patch, and he refused to get off until somebody gave him a patch. It's also crazy. It's like, damn, man, he's really demanding. He's really obsessed with his image here. Kash went on Fox News Channel last night, Laura Ingraham, and this is how he explained it. Well, listen to this. Here's Kash saying the whole story's bullshit. Watch.
It's 100% false. As you know, look, Laura, sadly, I was at 9/11 at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11 because I was a White House representative honoring those victims and their names being read. You are very familiar with that. Then we made the immediate decision after Charlie got shot in the neck to fly to Utah unexpectedly to lead the manhunt to find the perpetrator in less than 33 hours because the FBI cut video, put it out in a press conference, and these people are worried about what I was wearing and what patches I was wearing. I was honoring my men and women at the FBI. One of my agents handed me a jacket and said, "Hey, boss, you should probably wear this. We're going into the command center." I said I'd be honored to wear that. And then another one handed me the SWAT team badge of the unit that was protecting the area where Charlie was assassinated. I wore that with pride. These people can talk about my appearances all they want, but look at the results. The FBI, this FBI, my FBI, the one that Dan and I are building here under President Trump, is succeeding in ways that no FBI has ever done so before. So the institutionalists and the anonymous reporters from the swamp D.C. bureaucracy are the ones we are crushing. And that's how I know we're winning. And if Eric Swalwell wants to come online and talk about what jacket size I wear, I'm happy to send him a women's medium so him and Fang can go out again.
So here's what I think happened. This is just from a distance, but here's what I actually think happened. I think that there are. I think people really are angry that Cash and Dan are shaking up the FBI. I think that's definitely a feature of this. But there's another component here, which is I think there's some sort of demented game of telephone that got played. In other words, like you're rushing the FBI director from the 9/11 memorial to Utah. And as he's arriving, some enterprising FBI agent is running around trying to make sure that everything's prepped for the director's arrival, looking for a jacket, looking for a patch, trying to get this all going. And what ends up happening is people are like, what a diva. He was demanding all this stuff. Cash is saying, look, I arrived, they handed me this stuff, I wore it with pride, and I went out there and we did our thing. And we captured the guy. We got Tyler Robinson. So, in other words, like Cash, I just, again, this is from an outside perspective, but just watching all of this is what I think is actually going on. And are people we like battling it out right now? Yeah, I'm watching as Dan Bongino and Miranda Devine are mixing it up on Twitter. Great. Let them. They're adults. They're adults. On the right, it turns out we can have debates. If these guys want to have their debates, let them. They're more than welcome to. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try and cut through the noise, figure out what the hell's going on, and tell you exactly what I'm thinking, which is what I do every day on this program. You are the best audience anywhere. Great to spend time with you as always. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We got another big show for you. I'll get the big national radio show today, thevinceshow.com. Check your local listings on thevinceshow.com. You can find your local radio station there. Support our local affiliates. And if you want to watch me on Rumble, you can. Rumble.com/Vince. We do it live. We got the Rumble chat going. It's a great conversation. You guys are the best. Vince, you need to go after Divine. You go after Divine. You want to go after her? Go after her. I don't care. You do whatever you want. I'm not your boss. I like Miranda, but these guys are going to mix it up. It's fine. And by the way, there's sometimes you and I can disagree with people who have done great things for our country. You're welcome to, but I'm not going to throw people out just because I'm gonna take the totality of their work. Always. We're the rational ones here. Fight for you, baby. More ahead on the Vince Show. More ahead on Vince tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon. Up next here on Rumble, Steven Crowder.